Hello, friends. Welcome back to the At the Time Football Podcast. I am your host, Shardel. I'm also joined by Connor. We share the same amount of power. And today, we are here to talk about nothing more than football.
Football. Okay, so we are closing in on the end of the season. It's been an extraordinary season, and also it's been a long time since we last uploaded. I believe it wasn't at the beginning of this season. It was over a year ago. The last thing we posted was about Messi's. Interesting. Hold on. Okay. Yep. So this our last upload was about a year and a half ago. So yeah, it's been a long time. But we are back, and it's time to get rolling. We enjoy doing these, and it's a very exciting time for football. And it's almost the end of the season. It's been a very fun season in all leagues. But yeah, we're gonna be pretty Premier League centric today. And our first topic of the day, we're gonna be talking about our Premier League recap. What we thought of the Premier League. That's the league we follow. I'm a Chelsea fan. Chardell is a Liverpool fan. Obviously, we had very different seasons. Well, but anyways, that's enough talking from me. What is your, just Premier League recap? What's your thoughts on the Premier League season? How did it go? What do you think? How it went?
Well, it was a shocking one. I'll start from a Liverpool perspective first. It's been very entertaining. There's not been much to complain about, but I say that like there's not been much to rejoice about. There's been plenty to rejoice about. We're in the FA Cup final against Chelsea again. We had the Carabao final. We have the UEFA Champions League final coming up now, and then we have a Premier League race on our hands. It's very exciting for Liverpool as of now, considering where we were last season. So that's in terms of Liverpool, but in terms of the Premier League, there has been some shocking turn of events. I find it very entertaining. Like, I'll start off by saying Everton. I did not expect Everton this season to be fighting relegation. Which is crazy. Most people would think that as a Liverpool fan, I would be happy about that. But in a way, I do feel like football or the Premier League would be a strange place without Everton in there. I think that they did make the right choice. And I don't think Rafa Benitez was the man for the job. He is a credible manager, but I don't think he was the man for the job to take over Everton. I do think that in a sense, Everton knows that they want to rebuild. And in order to rebuild, they picked up Frank Lampard. I think that's a good acquisition. I don't know whether they get relegated or not. They're going to keep Frank, but I think that they should, because we've already seen that Frank Lampard handles projects well with Chelsea. And it was even a bigger project, considering that his only thing on his resume was that he was a Derby manager. So I think what he did at Chelsea is very credible for him to have the Everton job and help them rebuild. And then we've seen Brighton. Brighton has been I'm not going to say they've been the greatest of teams, but they have shocked a lot of people, including myself. I did peg Brighton to be one of those teams to be relegated this season, and currently they're sitting in the Premier League table at 8th, which is kind of crazy. Graham Potter is a excellent manager. I will say that now. We've had our private conversations where I say he got lucky. I will say it right now on the podcast. He is an excellent manager. He knows what he's doing. And I don't know, man. There's just everything. There's a lot of things to be excited for with the Prem this season as it's coming to a close. There's been a lot. I won't even mention Man City because I will get flustered. But yeah, a lot of stuff has been happening in the Prem as of now, which is very exciting, which is grabbing my attention. So yeah,
this season has been not what I expected as a Chelsea fan, especially at the beginning of the season. We started off super well, and then obviously we signed Lukaku. Lukaku looked like he was gonna transcend our team, put us on the level of Liverpool, put us on the level of City. thought that we'd be title contenders, and we're finally there. We're finally back on that stage, but obviously we got hit by injuries pretty hard. We got hit by COVID. We were unlucky, but also we just couldn't put it together. There were stretches, month-long stretches where we just weren't playing good football at all. Even recently, we haven't been playing too well. I mean, obviously came out with a big win against Leeds, but the season is already pretty much finished. I'd like to think that we've, qualified for Champions League. It's not guaranteed, but I'm pretty sure all we need is a point from our last 2 games. But placing third is not how I expected. If at least by this gap of points at the beginning of the season, I thought, we would be a title contender. I thought we'd, be first, second, third, maybe by like a couple points, not behind by, I think it's 19 points right now. Yeah, 19 points. As a Chelsea fan, this season has not gone how I would like to, but we'll get to that later. Regarding everybody else, it's been quite the season for Liverpool and City. They've both performed very well. They've got the job done. Pep is just proving that he's probably the best coach in the world at league play. He just knows how to manage a team throughout a league season, knows how to make a successful league winning team. He's done it everywhere he's been. All credit to Pep. Obviously, Jurgen Klopp is on the brink of getting 4 major trophies in a season, which is pretty incredible. Obviously, none are guaranteed. So far, the only one that's guaranteed is the Carabao Cup, but he has a chance to win the Champions League, chance to win the FA Cup, chance to win the Premier League if Man City drop points in the last couple games, which I would say is highly unlikely based off of Man City, the form they've just been there in. They've won their last 5 at least. They put 5 on Wolves. They're in very good form. But regarding the rest of the table, because we already knew how that was going to shake out, I did not expect Tottenham and Arsenal to be battling for the 4th spot. I thought Manchester United and West Ham would really be battling for that spot. But West Ham have kind of tailed off a little bit. Still had, I would say, for them, a satisfactory season. Maybe not what they expected, but to be West Ham and be in 7th right now, I'm guessing they're probably pretty satisfied. And they've guaranteed European football pretty much as long as they get a point, it looks like. Wolves have had a pretty solid season. I didn't think that Bruno Lage was the right coach at the beginning, but now, and especially in the middle of the season, he looked like he was really the man for the job. I think there was a point where Wolves had the best defensive record in all of Europe, which is pretty incredible. They're a team that doesn't score a lot. They're a team that defends really well. They're just a really good group, and they defend really well. Really hard to break down. But obviously, Man City broke them down pretty well. But the rest of the table, Leicester obviously had a super disappointing season. They got nailed with injuries from day one. It's been really bad for them. Brighton having an incredible season, like you said. Brighton has been, they just have so many good players. I love seeing Moises Caicedo coming into the team lately. Marc Cucurella playing left center back, and Trossard playing left wing back, and Solly March, a left-footed player, playing right wing back. Graham Potter, I don't know how he does it, but that man, he's one of my favorite coaches. I think he's just such a great coach. And obviously, we can all laugh at Man United. Nothing more needs to be said there. Palace, this was about where I expected them. I thought Vieira was a good addition. Thought they made good summer signings. This is about where I expected. Villa, same deal. I kind of expected them to be mid-table. Brentford, very happy that they had as good of a season as they did. I expect it to kind of be a little bit like a Sheffield United story. I think they'll get relegated next season. I don't know if they'll have the quality to stay out 2 years in a row, but if they do, more power to them. Newcastle, obviously, we know the story there. Just January completely flipped their season. They went from, relegation dogfight to now they're very comfortably out of relegation, and they can go this summer, splash a bunch of cash, sell a bunch of players, make a new team pretty much, and go try to play for Europe next season, which is nuts. Southampton, bit disappointing. I thought they made some good signings, but losing Danny Ings was pretty big. And I honestly have lost all my faith in Ralph Hasenhüttl I don't think he's a very great coach anymore. I mean, I heard a point. Great coaches don't concede like 9 or 8 goals multiple times a season. It's a pretty unique thing. And for Southampton to be conceding that many goals consistently on a regular basis every season, it raises some questions. As you said, Everton, I agree. If Everton got relegated, I don't think that the Premier League would feel the same way. You always need Everton to be that disappointing team, spends 150 million over the summer, and then never places even close to Europe. But this is disappointing. I typically like Everton. They're kind of one of those teams that I can like. I don't know. I like some of their players, but I think their issue is they've fired so many coaches, but every summer they bring in so many new players to fit that coach's system that now it's just a big conjumbulation of players from a bunch of different coaches' systems, and now they're expected to work with each other. And yeah, I think Frank will. Hopefully he stays. I think it'd be heartbreaking if they fired him, but I think I hopefully has just edged them out of relegation. I believe in him. I think he can do it. He has 2 points right now ahead of the 18th spot. But yeah, Burnley, obviously very sad to see Sean Dyche fired. That guy deserves a statue outside of their stadium. Sean Dyche Stadium. Yeah, and Leeds, I don't know, it was heartbreaking to see Marcelo Bielsa fired. Watford and Norwich, they had it coming. They didn't really
I think
do
that's all that needs to be said on that.
Yeah. They didn't really do all that much in the summer to make them competitive enough. And I don't think that they had the right coaches either to make them stay. Brentford just had the right strategy. I think sometimes Premier League teams come up for the championship and think too much. They make a bunch of signings thinking that, oh, this is going to be great. Brentford barely made that many signings. They just kind of made a couple of systematic changes, and they're in 13th. So Thomas Frank, I don't think he's an extraordinary coach, but I think that he just knows how to organize the side and not lose games. But yeah, that's I mean, my thoughts on the Premier League season. I'm not sure if you have anything else to add. It's been
You recapped it pretty accurately.
Yeah, Chelsea, obviously, as a Chelsea fan, it's been a disappointing season, and we have a lot more to talk about regarding Chelsea, but I will wait on that. And with that said, talk about teams, now it's time to move into individuals, and we're going to talk about our personal Premier League team of the season. So who, for you, gets to start in goal as the best goalkeeper this season in the Premier League?
I'm going to upset a lot of people with this one.
All right. It's a good way to start.
It's not Allison. It's not Ederson. It is not Ramsdale, Arsenal fans. So you can pipe down on that one. It is Jose Sa in goal for me. He has, I believe he currently holds the highest percentage for most saves averaged in a game. I believe it's between him and De Gea, which I would argue De Gea, although considering where we would expect Man United to be, they're not in the spot where they would need to be. Whereas Wolves,
De Gea, imagine where Man United would be in the table.
That is very true. Mm-hmm. I do have to take that into consideration. Mm-hmm. Honestly, it is a tough choice. I think. Honestly, I think I'll change my decision. I think I'll go with David De Gea because it's like you said. Imagine where they would be without David De Gea in goal. Wolves. Yeah, Jose Sa is a good, almost a defender. He's a good goalkeeper, but David De Gea we know that his defense has struggled in form, and something as light as like a 2-1 loss could have easily been like a 9-1 loss if it wasn't for David De Gea in goal. So I think I'll change my answer to David De Gea. Yeah.
I agree with your first choice, but I think it's super neck and neck. I think De Gea has been incredible this season. I don't blame you for picking De Gea. I mean, I think it's like a 51% for me, and then like 49% for De Gea. I think just Jose Sa has been such a good signing because I'm guessing when Wolves fans saw that they sold Rui Patricio, they were probably really sad. And especially when they saw they were replacing him with a goalkeeper from Greece, they were probably even sadder. A guy who came from – didn't he come from Olympiacos, I think?
Yeah, he came from Olympiacos.
Yeah. And so when they saw that, they were probably just like, oh, my gosh, we probably literally only signed him because he's Portuguese. This is not going to end well, maybe. But I don't know. He's been incredible this season. He's been such a good goalkeeper. I'm just going to say him strictly because Wolves' defense was so good for a major portion of the season until recently. And yeah, but I think it's super close. I think it's good that you're picking De Gea and I'm picking Jose Sa because they both equally deserve the credit to be recognized as the best goalkeeper in the league. So basically, the way I think that this team should line up is just like 4-2-3-1, except a 6, an 8, and a 10, so that kind of each position gets equal praise. So I guess we'll move on to left back. Who is your left back of the season?
Cancelo. I hate to say it. Andy Robertson has been superb. He currently has like 10 assists or something. But the versatility on Cancelo to switch, well, it's not really much of a switch, but like in the sense it is to completely go. Obviously, we all know Mendy had his little mishap at the beginning of the season, and Zinchenko has the potential to be that answer at left back for Man City, and so does Ake. But Cancelo kind of, I feel like when you have Walker and Cancelo on the same team, you cannot have them fighting for one spot because they're both equally as important when it comes to the defense of Manchester City. So for Cancelo to switch over to the left side and have the impact that he's been having for Man City this season, I think is superb. So for left back, I'll go with João Cancelo.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think that João Cancelo is just the best left back in the Premier League. I think João Cancelo is the best fullback in the world. I think that João Cancelo is pretty incredible. I mean, it's neck and neck with Trent, but it's hard to really think of anybody else who's that good. João Cancelo is just incredible. I don't know. That was such a good signing by them, especially when they gave Danilo for him and like 20 million or something like that. That's nuts. But yeah, I completely agree. Right back. This should also be pretty straightforward, I would imagine, especially if you being a Liverpool fan.
Luke Ayling.
Okay.
Nah, Luke Ayling is he's a superb player, but
he's suspended for the rest of the season.
He's a superb player, but he's not Trent Alexander-Arnold this season, who has been
I don't think he's ever been Trent Alexander-Arnold. I don't think you just need to say this season.
He's been very crucial to Liverpool's run, currently on 17 assists in all competitions, 18 assists, which he's just broken his own record for most assists in a single season by a fullback. So I think he's like 3 Champions League assists away from breaking Dani Alves' record, which is pretty crazy at the age of 22. But yeah, so I'm definitely going Trent.
Yep. Yeah. For me, it's probably I'd have to say Emerson Royale, probably for me. No, I completely agree. It's Trent Alexander-Arnold. There's no debate. He's been the best. He's standout right back in the league. Yeah, no debate. Nothing really needs to be said. Everyone knows how good Trent is. At the 6, who do you got? I think this one's pretty straightforward for me. There's been one guy who's really stood out in the 6 for me this season. I think fully deserves this credit. 2 guys, maybe. Actually, yeah, there's an argument for 2, but I don't want to put this team in there again. But yeah, who you got? Well, 3 guys actually.
I'll let you go first because I have a couple of them.
Okay. My choice is Declan Rice. I just think he's been incredible this season. He's arguably been more of an 8. He's been kind of playing pretty advanced this season, but I think he fully deserves it. Declan Rice has been incredible this season. Been West Ham's best player for a couple of years now, and he was so good in Europa League, and yeah, he's just such a good player. Chelsea need to sign him. Obviously, I'm going to say that, but yeah, I think he fully deserves it. The other guys I was saying, Fabinho's had an incredible season, and Rodri has had a really good season. But I don't want to put Rodri in or Fabinho because Liverpool and City, I'm guessing, will already dominate the rest of this team. So, yeah, but yeah, that's easily my choice. For me, Declan Rice, pretty simply, as my 6. Who do you got?
Okay, so in order to make this decision, I've decided to look at statistics. The 2 I had in my mind was Declan Rice and Rodri. Obviously, I don't have to say too much about why Rodri is in this list. But as for Declan Rice, we have seen Declan Rice take this. Let's not forget, like 2-3 years ago, West Ham was another team who wasn't necessarily fighting for relegation, but they weren't doing what West Ham was expected to do. They were like 15th, 14th, and they rehired David Moyes, and Declan Rice was switched from center back to CDM. And as time went on, he was partnered with Soucek, and him and Soucek in that 6-6 pivot has been very helpful for West Ham and how they advance the ball forward, which is funny because you would think that for 6-6, it would improve their defense. But we've kind of seen, we had this discussion earlier, the first year that they partnered Soucek with Rice, Declan Rice was more of the defender, whereas Soucek was more of the advanced defensive midfielder who was ball playing or he'd get involved in the attack. Whereas we've seen in this season, it's been the complete opposite. They've switched roles. And in my opinion, I feel Declan has done it better than what Thomas Soucek did when he had that chance. Declan, it's at times you kind of forget that he's a defensive midfielder because of how well he is on the ball, how well he distributes the ball to his teammates. And even when they need someone to go score, Declan can go take the ball from the half and say, okay, I'm just going to run this into the box and I'm going to shoot and score. So I think in terms of team impact, not to say Rodri hasn't had an impact for Manchester City, but in terms of team impact, I would have to say Declan Rice would be my 6 in my team of the season. I'm going to have to agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. I realized we completely forgot center backs. So we should probably talk about center backs. This is a little harder for me because I think there's a lot of really good center backs. And there's a lot of, for every team in every part of the league, there's been a center back who like arguably has an argument for like best center back or most standout center back in the league. But I have one plays for Liverpool, but he's not Virgil van Dijk. I think it's been so cool to see Joel Mctip have a healthy season, and it's show like the impact that he really can make. He hasn't played like a full season because he's been competing with Joe Gomez and Konate for that spot. But when he has played, I mean, he's played majority of the season. He's been incredible. Looks really good. Really dominant center back. Yeah, it's just nice to see him have a healthy season because he's really struggled with injuries. And I think he's one of my center backs. And because there's not many spots that my Chelsea can fit into the team, and although it's heartbreaking, this player's name makes me want to cry every time I say it. Early in the season, I might have said Thiago Silva, but Rudiger has just been on another level this entire season. And yeah, he fully deserves his move to Real Madrid. Real Madrid are, super, and I mean, they're Real Madrid. That's the only way to really say it. Superpower team. I think he'll do great things there. Just heartbreaking because you want to retain the best players you have on your team. Rudiger is our best defender, and he has years on him. Thiago Silva is an incredible defender, but he's almost 40, and you never know what that's going to look like next season. Already kind of see his legs giving out on him injury-wise, but he's still performing at a super high level. But yeah, I'd say Mctip and Rudiger are my picks for center back team of the season. Those are my picks.
All right. I'm going to go a little different which is strange. I personally, anyone can disagree with me, but I think this is Joel Matip's best season for Liverpool. And I feel like a big part in that is the fact that he's able to stay healthy, as you mentioned. And Rudiger, we've talked about this as well. Rudiger had a terrific season, but not only a terrific season, but he's been an incredible center back for Chelsea. And he has a big impact on the Chelsea team. However, I decided for my double center back pairing to go with Ruben Diaz and Connor Cody. Ruben Diaz might not be much of a shock, but I feel like a lot of people have underlooked Connor Cody simply because he plays for Wolves. But the leadership, not only the leadership, obviously the defense that he does for that team is really impactful. But I'm pretty sure you know this kind of season Connor Cody has been having. It's been for a team such as Wolves, it's been pretty good for Connor Cody, and not only Connor Cody on that Wolves team, but Kilman has also been having a good season. But I don't think it's team of the season worthy, or he doesn't have numbers as team of the season worthy as Connor Cody does. But Wolves' defense in general is usually quite locked. They rarely concede more than like 3-4 goals when they're playing opponents. It's only recently that they've started conceding and I don't even think it's that much. I think it's the most they've conceded this season, surprisingly, is 3. Except for Man City, which they recently just got battered by 5-1. But that's what else do you expect
I'll
from
double
Man
check,
City?
but yeah, I mean they're very solid defensive team. I'll double check.
Yeah, but yeah, I feel like I'll give Connor Cody his recognition, but I'm not going to say that it was easy because, as I said, Mctip has had his season. Van Dijk is having his standard season. Like you said, another player that I think is also being underlooked, but this one's because of his age, is Thiago Silva. People think that because he's 38, closing on, or is he 38, 37?
37.
But he, for a 37-year-old defender in the Premier, he is making it look like age is nothing but a number. Thiago Silva has, since he's arrived at Chelsea as well, it's not just a one season thing. He's been an excellent defender, excellent leader for that back line. Another solid defensive team in Chelsea who conceded. I believe it was a record. They conceded the least amount of goals for your guys' Champions League run. But yeah, he was a big part of that as well as Rudiger. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Ruben. Actually, I think I'm gonna take out Ruben. I'm gonna put Antonio Rudiger. I'm gonna put Antonio Rudiger and Connor Cody. I think that's what I'm gonna do instead. So we got our left back, we got our center back, we got our right backs. Mm-hmm. And actually, I would like to agree. I'd like to change my answer from De Gea back to Jose Sa. Okay. And we have our 6. So now, what formation is our team of the season?
It's a 4-2-3-1, except instead of double 6, it's 6-8-10.
Okay.
So we'll select an 8, we'll select a 10, and then yeah. I don't think Connor Cody has ever been like an extraordinary defender. I just think that he might be the best leader in the entire Premier League. I'm not sure how many other captains would learn Portuguese or the language that like a majority of their guys speak to communicate with them easier. Because it's crazy to just hear Connor Cody speaking Portuguese to the players playing alongside him. And yeah, regarding their defense, I mean, fully a Wolves player deserves to be in the defense because they didn't allow 3 goals. As I'm looking at it, I'm pretty sure this is right. They didn't allow 3 goals in a Premier League game until Leeds in March, where they lost 3-2 and they had a red card. And then since then, their form has just completely dipped. I guess that did their confidence in pretty bad. But yeah, I mean, defensively, they've been so good. And then obviously they were stunned 5-1 by City. It's going to happen, I suppose. But Yeah, even Chelsea last year. Chelsea had an incredible defensive record, and then we lost 5-2 to West Brom, which those kind of things just happen. And it's also Man City who are in first place and have scored a lot of goals this season. But yeah, I don't dislike that choice, but I don't think Connor Cody is like an extraordinary defender. I just think that he leads his Wolves side so well, and they are such a good defensive unit. Yeah. So we have our full defense. My defense: Jose Sa, Cancelo, Rudiger, Mctip, and Trent, and then we have Declan Rice as the 6th. Now we move on to 8. So I mean, there's a few different options here. I guess we can kind of think about what we call yeah. Who do you have as your 8 this season?
In terms of a traditional 8, I am. This is a tough one. I want to say. I have Conor Gallagher in my mind.
Good shout.
I also have James Ward-Prowse in my mind. I do want to say the pretty average answer in Bernardo Silva and Kevin De Bruyne, but I'm trying to stay clear of all that.
Yeah,
I was going
to go for them because they just deserve it thoroughly.
You're going to go who?
I was going to go with one of them on mine because they just thoroughly deserve it. But yeah, I fully respect you not. It's good.
I mean, because it's like, it gets to a point where I'm like, I don't, but at the same time, it's hard. It's been, I'm gonna have to, man, because Conor Gallagher started the season really strong, and Kevin De Bruyne started his not to the expectation of Kevin De Bruyne, but
then he had a hat trick.
Yep, and 2022 is coming. Now he has 15 goals, 7 assists, and then obviously he's been a big help in Champions League. Like since 2022 has come around, she started to look like old self again. And not to say Conor Gallagher's form has dipped or anything, but Crystal Palace is not really like the talking point anymore. Man, there's a lot to think about. And then obviously you have Bernardo Silva, who week in, week out just performs. In terms of, so we're playing with a 6 and 8 and a 10, correct?
Yeah, just so we can get those.
All right, then in that case, if we're playing with an 8, I'm going with that rules De Bruyne out for me. Now it's between Bernardo and Conor Gallagher. I'm gonna have to go with. It pains me, but I think I'm gonna have to go with Bernardo Silva. Though I do have to give Conor Gallagher and James Ward-Prowse their shouts. They've been great this season, but I think it has to be Bernardo. The way he carries the ball in the midfield for Manchester City is next to none. It's funny because when he was bought, the idea for him playing an 8 was not even one to think about, and now he's arguably one of the best ball controlling midfielders. I'm not going to say best midfielders yet, but he's arguably one of the best ball controlling midfielders in the Prem. The way the ball just sticks to his feet like glue, the way he's able to draw opposition out to lay it off to Kevin De Bruyne, let's say, or another midfielder to get that extra pass in to lay it off to, let's say, Sterling or Gabriel Jesus or any other forwards to finish off the movement is very important to Manchester City, and especially in the way that Manchester City plays under Guardiola's tactics. I'll say Bernardo Silva. I'll put Bernardo Silva at that 8. I'll give it to him, but I can't stress enough that Conor Gallagher and James Ward-Prowse, did come into mind, and they also had seasons worth challenging. And
Yeah, I think for me it was pretty straightforward. It was between KDB and Bernardo Silva. Everybody else has had, I mean, like you said, Conor Gallagher, obviously, love the guy, Chelsea guy, really good player, deserves to be in the conversation. Maybe earlier in the season, but I think as the season's kind of carried on, I think Bernardo Silva and Kevin De Bruyne have just completely dominated again. But I think Bernardo Silva, because he's excelled so much at the 8, and he is so good at what he does, I'm going to say Bernardo Silva for me. Not really much to say about it. You pretty much covered it. Yeah, Bernardo Silva is definitely my guy. Pretty easy choice for me, actually. But the 10 for me also is an incredibly easy choice. I guess I'll just start. For me, super easy choice. It's Mason Mount. He's been Chelsea's best player this season. Offensively, 11 goals, 10 assists in the Premier League alone. In all competitions, he has more. Obviously, I don't know the exact numbers. Sorry. But, yeah, 21 goal contributions. The first player to do it at Chelsea since Eden Hazard, and the youngest player to ever do it at Chelsea, period. I think Mason Mount fully deserves to be in this team, and yeah, he's just had an incredible season. I mean, there's times where his form kind of tails off, but every player has that, dips and rises in form. But Mason Mount always, pretty much always delivers. He's so good. His finishing this season has just been on another level too from previous seasons. I mean, there's some goals he scored this year. It's just, even recently, his goal against Leeds, such a good goal. I guess another conversation. Oh my gosh. My 8, there's an argument. I think it's still Bernardo Silva, but Kovacic also, I think, deserves to be in the conversation. Kovacic, if it hadn't been for a couple of injuries, I think should be in that conversation. Kovacic has been so good this year. Oh my gosh. He's been incredible. But yeah, Mason Mount is a 10. I'll keep Bernardo Silva as my 8. Kovacic, I think, deserves to be in the competition too, but had no idea how I forgot Kovacic and how good he's been this year. Just been so good at progressing the ball, so impactful in our play. Always been like an 8 out of 10 performer this season. Always consistent. But yeah, not about that. We moved on from that. Yeah, Mason Mount's my 10. Been so good this year. I don't even know if there's an argument. I consider De Bruyne more of an 8 anyways, so just because how they play. But yeah, that's my choice, and pretty easy for me. I don't think there's much argument in my head from any other guys.
Bruno, I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
Obviously, like we said, Kevin De Bruyne, his season started out slow, but he's picking it up now, 15 goals, 7 assists. But as Mason Mount's consistency has started from start to finish. He's currently 3rd in assists as of right now, and I'm pretty sure in terms of goal contributions, he is 1st or 2nd within the entire Chelsea squad, which is pretty good.
I think he's 1st by a pretty big margin.
Yeah. So, but like you said, in my opinion, the only argument this season would have been with Kevin De Bruyne, but because of the consistency, not to say that Kevin De Bruyne was poor or anything at the beginning of the season, but he just, to the expectations we hold Kevin De Bruyne as the best midfielder or the best attacking midfielder in the world, at the beginning, he wasn't really living up to that. And obviously we have a previous candidate from last season, Bruno Fernandes, who struggled a little bit this season with Man United. He wasn't able to be that X factor that he was that he was for them for the past 2 seasons. But it wasn't not to put all the blame on him, because it wasn't necessarily his fault. It was more of a entire club thing. But I feel like Mason Mount didn't have, in terms of the position we're talking about right now, Mason Mount did not have much competition. It's him by a landslide. I think that he is deservedly the 10 for the team of the season. The numbers speak for itself pretty much.
Yeah, I don't think there's much argument. Mason Mount has just been incredible this season. He improved his game so much, even from last season, and he was our player of the season last year. So, yeah, he Yeah, Mason Mount is just such a good player. He's incredible. So gifted to have someone like him in the Chelsea setup. Someone who not only has that quality, but also works as hard as he does. And, because some of those players, they have that much quality in their game, but they aren't super hard workers. You don't see them running around the pitch for a full 90 minutes like Mason Mount is, giving 110%. Yeah, Mason just fully deserves it. He's had such a good season. Move on to left wing, because I think there's an argument to be had at left wing. And yeah, who's your left wing? Who's your team of the season left wing, left mid, I guess? Yeah. I think in my head is between three. It's between two players. I'll say
left wing. Left wing. Wait, why am I even thinking about this? This is not even a thought. It's Heung-min Son. Yeah, 1,000%. Yeah, it's Heung-min Son for me. Jeez, why did that take me so long?
I mean, I think like an argument could be made for Sadio Mane, but he hasn't really been incredible this season. So, Heung-min Son has just been on another planet this year, and yeah, he fully deserves it. He's been Tottenham's best player this season, been consistent all year long, as typical. Yeah, I fully Heung-min Son, left wing, fully deserves it. Not really much to be said. He's just been incredible. He just scores goals.
Heung-min Son things. This is not anything new to us. This is just Heung-min Son being Heung-min Son.
Yeah. Heung-min Son is just like the perfect modern day forward. Yeah, he's just so good. Let's go right wing, just because it's very easy. He is currently leading the Premier League in goals and assists. I'll let you take this one.
Jared Bowen. He's been pretty decent for West Ham. But he's not been anywhere near as awesome as Mohamed Salah running down the wing, the Egyptian king.
There you go.
Yeah. As you said, currently leading goals, currently leading in assists. So hopefully this shushes all the critics that say Mohamed Salah doesn't pass and he's too selfish, because someone who's selfish does not lead in assists. So critics, hush up.
Yes. Yeah. No argument to be had. Mo Salah, if Benzema wasn't doing what he does and Lewandowski wasn't doing Lewandowski things, Mo Salah deserves Ballon d'Or. And even I'd put Mo Salah above Lewandowski in the Ballon d'Or. And especially if Liverpool go on, win the Champions League, somehow find a way to win the Prem. They won't win the FA Cup. No, I don't know. But yeah, I think he deserves a Ballon d'Or. But yeah, that's pretty easy. Striker, I guess we can probably get this one out of the way pretty quick. I think it's between two guys, but for me, it's pretty obvious. I'll let you make your decision. I think we might have two different answers here.
I don't think it's even close. It's just crazy, because if you consider the season his team had, it was horrible. It's Cristiano Ronaldo. In terms of clinical finishing from a striker, it has to be Ronaldo. The guy has scored 2 or 3 hat tricks for Man United this season, which is crazy, considering that every single game that he had a hat trick was a close game. It was 3-2 versus Tottenham and 3-2. Yeah, it's just crazy. But like at the same time, it's not crazy because it's Cristiano Ronaldo. Like if you have Cristiano Ronaldo on your team and you need goals, you're gonna rely on Cristiano Ronaldo. But the fact that like how the goals have come from the beginning, it's just, you would think that you would set up Ronaldo, one of the most clinical forwards we've had of our time, and more, you would set him up more. But Man United, it hasn't clicked until like recently for them. It's just I don't know. Ronaldo, again, he's one of those players. I can't. It's funny though, because the season he's had has been probably, to critics, his worst season ever. but the impact he has going forward for Man United is nuts. I'm just thinking about the amount of games that they would have not won, the more games that they would have not won if they didn't have Ronaldo up front, which is, I don't know. Not to make this a whole United rant on how to fix their club or whatever, because I don't even think I don't have the knowledge to know what the hell is going on at that club. But to have Ronaldo, there was a stat we saw. It was like the first time we played, Man United and we beat them 5-0. You could just tell, like, none of the chances were being given to Ronaldo. Ronaldo pretty much had to create his own chances, which is not the craziest thing in the world, but like at the same time, if you're playing Ronaldo at forward, especially as your 9, you want to slip in balls to break the line of defense so that Ronaldo can just 1-2 tap or 1-2 shoot, not Ronaldo dropping into like this false 9 role to carry the ball to help his teammates push it forward, because without Ronaldo in the midfield, who, even though he was a striker, he's playing in midfield, without Ronaldo there, they can't even carry out 5 passes without getting pressed out of their mind or losing the ball or distributing it in a horrible way. It's weird. But again, not to make this a United rant, because this was about team of the season striker. But yeah, Ronaldo is my choice. It's my number 1 choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. For someone 37 to be doing what he's doing, scoring 18 goals in the Prem, yeah, it's pretty nuts. He fully deserves it. He is just, his longevity, he's taking care of his body so well. He's been so successful for so long. If he was on a better team, he'd play even better. But the fact that is he 3rd in goals or 4th?
He is, I believe he's behind Heung-min Son, so he'd have to be 3rd. Yeah.
He's to be on that level when you're 37, playing for a team that doesn't create like a crazy amount of chances, and most of the chances that he does get, he creates himself. I mean, obviously, some, like against Chelsea, his goal was beautifully created by Mctip. Mctip had a super good game that game, which, against his old club. Anyways, yeah, Ronaldo, yeah, I think he fully deserves it. And that wraps up our team of the season. I think that those are good choices. We pretty much agreed on every pick, which is a good thing, because we both recognize class. There's some honorable mentions. Obviously, like you said, Andrew Robertson. If Cancelo hasn't had as good of a season, I think Diogo Jota has a really good shot. He's been incredible this year. Thiago Silva in the defense as well. If Reece James is healthy all year, Reece James 1,000% would be in the argument. Except Trent's also had a pretty incredible year. Yeah, obviously mentioned Kovacic. Yeah, he's just such a good player. But yeah, Harry Kane had a decent season. I wouldn't say he's team of the season level, but kind of had a Harry Kane season. Yeah, that wraps up team of the season. You have anything else to add? I think that we did pretty well there.
Loads of honorable mentions, but
we got other things to talk about, and I think everyone knows guys who deserve the credit. And we pretty much talked about them in every position. Talked about guys who deserve credit too. So, yeah. Anyways, now I kind of want to talk about, branch out from the Premier League slightly, and talk about the Champions League final. And this is one that is really exciting, because Liverpool, they're the powerhouse. They've dominated throughout the tournament. Performed really well getting to the final. And then Real Madrid, who've just been the Cinderella. It's weird to call Real Madrid a Cinderella team, but the way they've won their games, I mean, obviously, yeah, it's just going to be such an exciting game. I think if Liverpool score first, they lose the game, personally. I think that's how it's going to go. But, yeah, we can just quickly touch on the Champions League final. What's your score prediction? How do you expect the final to
Looking
go?
for revenge, 3-1. Simple as that. They beat us. If you know, they beat us in Kiev. I want 3-1 victory. I want the revenge. I want Mohamed Salah. Although I did briefly talk about this with you, it doesn't feel as satisfying because Ronaldo is gone and Ramos is gone. However, Real Madrid is still Real Madrid. They are still Los Blancos. So it would be awesome. One thing is for certain, no matter who wins, this is going to be a very entertaining final. This is not going to be, I will be the first one to admit it. I don't care what any Liverpool fan says. I am a realist before I am a fan of Liverpool. The 2019 final that involved us and Tottenham was probably the most boring Champions League final I've ever watched in my life. I will be the first to admit it. I know that this one will be entertaining. It's going to be good football. Real Madrid has been playing good football since the group stages, and they're going to push Liverpool to their limit. I am expecting some great, great things from this final. It's almost as if I feel like the semifinal in itself was a Champions League final. However, if they can live up to City, or not even if, I know it will, because you have two great minds going head to head. I don't care what anyone says about Carlo Ancelotti, whether they think a lot of people bash him because he likes to ask his players' opinions on tactics. They think that he's clueless. Although I think that as a manager shows a sense of trust in your players' abilities. And obviously, especially as a new coach, a lot of people around Real Madrid have been there a long time. So it gives the coach a sense on how players play. Obviously, if you come into a new team compared to people who've been there for 7 years, you're not going to instantly know how they play compared to like how Marcelo knows some of them plays. Marcelo's been there a while. Or let's say if Ramos was still there compared to how Ramos was. It shows a sense of trust to me. And I think it is a manager method that not many would be willing to try. And I think Carlo Ancelotti is bold and brave for doing that. And for those people bashing how Carlo Ancelotti handles it, if it was really such a bad idea, I don't think that Madrid would be in the place that they are right now. But yeah, there are a few things here and there that each coach has as a strength and as a weakness. But I do think that both their strengths and weaknesses will grow for a very entertaining final.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. That's more of a you thing. Yeah, Real Madrid completely dominated their league, but also La Liga hasn't been very competitive over the past couple years. Yeah, I think I'm going to watch the final for sure. It's going to be a super, super exciting final. I don't mind who wins. Real Madrid have been such a fun team to watch, obviously at the expense of Chelsea, but Chelsea nearly came back. I just think that it just feels too much like this is Real Madrid's tournament after, they beat us 3-1 at the Bridge, but then we come back. It looked like we were going to win the game, but then Modric had to show us that he is still Luka Modric, regardless of age, and he's still such a world-class footballer. And yeah, unfortunately, we lost that game, and how the Man City game won, which I was jubilated. I thought it was over. I thought we were going to see a Man City Liverpool final. That was just going to be kind of expected, boring. And then Rodrigo just stunned me, stunned everybody else in the footballing world. Maybe it wasn't a pen on Benzema, but that's not how it went. Man City get knocked out of the Champions League, and we have a very exciting final. I think, yeah, it's going to be fun. It'll be a really good final. I'm excited to watch it. Fortunately, the trophy will be taken from Chelsea's hands, but it's okay because I witnessed Chelsea win the Champions League final, and I'm going to witness us win another one. So, yeah. That's what I got to say about that. And as I just said that, the next topic that I have, we can touch on it. Don't need to talk about it for a super long time. I have my thoughts, sort of. You probably have your own thoughts. And because you have your own thoughts, I'm going to let you also talk about it first. So then I can go on a rant about it for like 15 minutes. Chelsea ownership. Obviously, I said Chelsea will win the Champions League final. I fully believe that. These past couple months have been Champions League, excuse me, have been very confusing as a Chelsea fan. Obviously, the war in Ukraine is so unfortunate, and I don't want to make that like war sound like it's like less important than Roman Abramovich having to leave the club. I don't know how else to word that, because it was completely the right move. Roman Abramovich should rightly step down from the club. But it's just a bit heartbreaking. As a Chelsea fan, Roman Abramovich has, Chelsea were a really good team before Roman Abramovich took over. Chelsea obviously were qualified for the Champions League the season that Roman took over. And we had just recently started to build ourselves up as a solid team. We had guys like Frank Lampard on the team. John Terry had just started to develop himself as a really good player. Eidur Gudjohnsen, players like that, super good players, and we were pushing for Champions League football. We were improving every single season. But then Roman bought us, and then obviously Roman excelled us. Jose Mourinho took over, and we are still the best defensive team to ever be in the Premier League. And since then, Chelsea have had a super decorated time in the Premier League. A lot of highs and a lot of lows, winning a lot of trophies along the way, being a super exciting team to follow, and a super heart attack team to follow. I don't know how else to word it. But yeah, before I get into it too much, everything that I have to say about it, because I have so much to say about it, I'm going to let you kind of say what you have to say about the whole situation. I guess what you thought about it. I know that obviously you in your past have your Chelsea affiliations because your family and everything. But yeah, I'll let you take it away.
I don't have much to say on it. I'll be honest. It is tough for Chelsea to lose such an important figure within their last decade, such as Roman Abramovich, who's done so much for the club. And it's nice to have an owner who cares more about the club rather than the money that they grow from the club. And you kind of got that vibe from Roman Abramovich when it came to giving out the money to the board for transfers. You could tell it wasn't just to be that big name on the market that, oh, look at me, we got this big guy and he's going to bring us so much revenue. It was more as oh, this guy is going to help us succeed more and get the success that we want. And a great story that adds proof to that is the whole Jose Mourinho story. Whether you're a Chelsea fan that likes Jose Mourinho or not, Jose Mourinho tells the story a lot about the Didier Drogba story, where he was discussing with Roman Abramovich, and Mourinho was like, "Oh, get this guy, he'll be good for our club." And a lot of owners would rather say, the way Roman looked at it was at first obviously price, because we all know Drogba came from Ligue 1, which wasn't the most enticing of leagues in Roman Abramovich's eyes. But the trust that he saw, or the trust that he had in Jose Mourinho, in what Jose Mourinho wanted to build at Chelsea, he saw that it aligned with what he wanted, and he put his trust and faith into Jose Mourinho, got the money for him to spend on Drogba, and history does the rest of the talking. I don't have to say anything else about Didier Drogba. But yeah, what I will say about your new owners, I don't know much about them, but I do hope that, in the sense, you are losing some spirit in Roman Abramovich. I hope that they are able to show that same spirit that has left the Chelsea, that has left Chelsea, but not in the same Roman way. I want them to show it in their own way. I don't really want an owner to replicate something that the past owner did. I want them to show their love, their compassion for the club in their own way, if that makes sense.
Roman Abramovich has been just the perfect steward and custodian of the club during his time as owner. He's just taken perfect care of the club. And yeah, just as an owner, he's not just fully invested in our men's team making our men's team the best team in the world. But he's in the process, he's made our women's team one of the best in the world. If we just won the Women's Super League title, I believe. We have some of the best female players in the world on our team. Sam Kerr, baller. And yeah, I mean, this just Roman has made Chelsea just our youth academy. Obviously, there's players from our youth academy playing all across Europe. Some of the bigger names in the world came out of Chelsea's youth academy. I mean, yeah, just it's heartbreaking because Roman's been such a good owner, excuse me. But you know, all good things got to come to an end. Chelsea were successful before Roman, and Chelsea are going to be successful after Roman. We weren't quite as successful, obviously, before Roman. Roman took us to a new level. But Chelsea are now at a level where if a new owner comes in, he's taking a multi-billion-dollar project. And I don't think that could, unless the owner manages to royally screw it up, which I don't believe these why do I keep saying coaches? These owners are going to do. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words a bit. Yeah, Roman's hard. Losing Roman's hard. But regarding our new owners, at first I was hesitant hearing all of the owners, but one group has been pretty constant throughout it all, and it's Todd Bowley's group, who's gonna take ownership of Chelsea. And I definitely had my hesitations at first, as you know. I think it's just with how American ownership has gone in the Premier League, it's scary. We see what the Glazers are doing with Manchester United. They're just taking money out of the club for their own benefit, their own good. They only really care about having Manchester United as Manchester United. I think their main focus is profiting off of it. And a lot of people are just saying that that's what's going to happen with Chelsea. I don't believe that for a second. And especially because for a decade, the owners of Chelsea won't be able to withdraw a penny from the club. Everything that they give, the owners have to give to the club. It's their project. Rain Bank did such a good job with the sale process. And I think that they really did choose the best owners for us. Obviously, it's a consortium. There's Todd Bowley, who's the face of everything, and he's kind of going to be our new owner. People are going to look at him as our new owner. And he's the majority owner. And then there's Kool-Aid Capital, the investment firm, I believe. They're an investment firm. I'm pretty positive. Hans-Jörg Wyss, he's a Swiss billionaire, conservationist. I don't think he really cares much about football. I just think that he kind of, it's one of those things that, he's part of the group. I hate how I can't think of his name. Another Dodgers co-owner, Todd Bowley, obviously is one of the owners of the Dodgers. Another Dodgers co-owner, Mark Walters, and he is a London real estate developer, which is huge. I don't know why I can't think of his name, but he's a London real estate developer, which is massive because for the last decade, Chelsea have been trying to build a new stadium, and having somebody who knows London as well as he did. I'm pretty sure that he assisted in Tottenham building their new stadium, and Tottenham has built like the perfect modern day football stadium. Their stadium is beautiful. It's huge. And yeah, he is a Tottenham fan, which, but it's whatever. I think that his goal is also to help us make a successful team. And he's actually hesitant himself about being a Tottenham fan. They offered to put him on the board, but he said because of his status as a Tottenham fan, I guess, or maybe previously as a Tottenham fan, I don't know. He's not going to join the board because of how it might look. And so I respect that. But regarding Todd Boehly, because he really is the face of the organization, of the club now, he's been trying to buy a Premier League club for a while. He put in a bid a few years back for the club. Todd Boehly, and what I think about him as a coach. Why do I keep saying coach? As an owner. I initially had my doubts and reservations, but that was without knowing a single thing about him. And the only thing I knew about him was that he was American. And so immediately I was like, okay, I doubt this guy because he's American. I know how that goes in the Premier League. Obviously, Liverpool are lucky enough to have really good American owners. They take really good care of the club. They have a really smart transfer strategy. They don't go out and splash a ton of cash. They just make really smart transfers, and they build up money through sales. And yeah, all that. But we know that. I think Chelsea's transfer strategy is going to change a lot. Todd Boehly is an extremely data-forward, analytical person. And his number one priority, and it has been with the Dodgers, and it will be with Chelsea, is to win. He isn't just buying the team because it's another one of those things. Another big thing to own. He can flex to all his billionaire friends in America that he owns Chelsea FC. I don't think it's one of those things. I think Todd Boehly legitimately wants to build a winning team, as he's done with the Dodgers. Obviously, the Dodgers were going to be inevitably a winning franchise. They're in Los Angeles, big market. But he's turned them into a winning, even more of a winning franchise. They make these big trades. They make extremely data and forward analytical moves. They use players in so many different positions around the field. And yeah, I mean, Todd Boehly is an extremely data forward analytical guy. He's going to take our transfer approach is going to be completely different. I think it's going to be similar to Liverpool's. This consortium isn't going to have quite as much money to just throw around like Roman Abramovich could. I don't think that we'll see coaches being fired left and right for one bad month of football. Todd Boehly will completely put his faith in Thomas Tuchel, I believe. I think that him and Tuchel will completely get along because of the way that they approach things. Data forward, analytical people. Thomas Tuchel uses data all the time to study for matches, study opponents, find players that best fit into his system. And we haven't seen a Thomas Tuchel player yet. We haven't seen Chelsea purchase a player for Thomas Tuchel. I believe that Thomas Tuchel asked for Chiesa. That's why we put in an offer for him. I believe that Thomas Tuchel asked for Hakimi last summer. That's why we tried to buy him. Those transfers never materialized. Chiesa was already an incredibly hard deal to get done. Hakimi was too expensive for the board. And so Thomas Tuchel didn't get to sign any players that he personally wanted. I think this summer, Todd Boehly's going to say, here's this money. It's our first summer in charge. We know that we'll sell some players, but here is a war chest, essentially. We're giving you all this money. Go out and spend it. Build a winning football team. I'm going to do some studying with you. Player-wise, we'll find the best players that match our system, match what we want to do as a club, and we'll build a winning football team this summer. Right now, we have the foundation. We're going to go out and sell some players for sure. But I think Todd Boehly and Chelsea, I think it's exciting. It's obviously sad that Roman's leaving, as I've said a billion times. But I think Todd in this consortium, I really do think that it's a really good next step for Chelsea. And yeah, I think we'll still continue to be a successful club. I'm excited to see how this summer goes. Yeah, I mean, the season's obviously finishing up. It's time to get focused on next season, and I really can't think of much more to add. I think Todd Boehly and Chelsea makes sense. I think Todd's going to be a really great owner. I think he's an exception on most American owners because I really don't believe that he's doing it just strictly for the financial gain and purpose of owning a football club. I truly believe that out of his soul, he wants to build a winning football club, and that's his number one priority. And yeah, I'm super excited to hear what he has to say once it becomes official in the next couple of weeks. Hear obviously what our other owners have to say about it. But yeah, I don't think that this is a step down for Chelsea. I just think that it's going to be a new age and a new era for Chelsea, and I think that we're still going to be a very successful football club, and hopefully a more successful football club. Yeah. Yeah. I that's pretty much my rant about that. Yeah. Do you have anything else to add about Todd Boehly, maybe, just as our new owner coming in? Yeah.
Good luck to you, but we're still rivals.
We are still rivals. I agree. And I think that we will follow your example that you guys have set. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, that's over. We've talked about Chelsea, our new ownership situation, previous ownership situation. I know Todd Boehly will continue to invest in the youth because he's fully aware of how important that is. I'm sure he is. I'm sure he will continue to develop our women's team, our facilities. I truly believe that this guy just wants to win, and that's his number one goal. And he's going to do what he can to help us win. Like I said, he won't have the money to just throw around like Roman did. He's not going to be able to afford just releasing a manager, hiring a new manager every other season, pretty much. He's not going to be able to afford buying players for all this money, and then if they don't work, sell them, buying a replacement. I don't think it's going to work like that. I think that we're going to have a completely new approach, and it's going to be exciting. Don't get me wrong. I think we're still going to spend. But we're going to smartly spend, and we're going to put our money where we believe it's really going to help us rather than just going out and buying a player because we have the ability to. I think Romelu Lukaku is a perfect example of that. Spending 100 million on Lukaku. And obviously, Lukaku, I fully believe, is one of the best strikers in the world, but he just doesn't match our system, how we want to play football. Doesn't match Tuchel's system. He's not a Tuchel player. Tuchel didn't necessarily want him. He was given the chance. The board gave him the chance, and he said, sure, I'll take him. And obviously started off super well. But we know what it's like now. Obviously, it seems like he's starting to kind of be accustomed to the system, learn how he can learn how he can fit in good. And I fully believe that he will come good because spending that much money on a player, I don't think we'll give up on him after a season, regardless of the interview, which obviously made every Chelsea fan hate him. But yeah. Yeah. Anyways, I think my Chelsea rant is complete. But this is a good segue into our desired transfers because Chelsea obviously have a lot of work to do this summer. And I guess we can also touch on sales. Yeah, you. Who are your desired players? Maybe players who exit the club. What do you see for Liverpool this summer? What's it looking like?
Hard to say. So in terms of coming in, it's really hard to say. So we'll start with in terms of coming out. I think it's more than confirmed that Oxlade-Chamberlain is on his way out this season. Hell of a guy, hell of a character in the locker room. Just consistency, and not only consistency in performance, but in consistency in staying healthy is a big factor playing into why I think he will be gone. There's question marks with Naby Keita. Obviously, he has a contract running out. So I feel over the summer, if his contract is not renewed, obviously that will be a big tell that he'll be gone this season. We got some big players coming in. We got Fabio Carvalho coming in, which should be nice. We got Nico Williams coming back from loan from Fulham. I'm excited to see what we do with him. Whether we keep him or not, I'm excited to see what he has in terms of his future in football. He's shown what he can do in the Championship. Now, whether he displays that for Liverpool in the Prem or for another Prem side, or maybe takes his talents to another league, or whatever is in stock for him, I'm excited. Obviously, I don't think it's a fact. He's not on the level of Trent Alexander-Arnold yet, but there are little hints and glimpses of a future a bright future for Nico Williams at right back. Divaka Regis is another person who I think is pretty obvious will be leaving. He's one of those players who has been really important for us off the bench, but at Divaka Regis' age, I think it's time that he would like to be a guaranteed starter, if not a first team option. I know he's been heavily linked with AC Milan, which me personally, I would love to see. It would be a big loss though, considering how much he's done for us and how much he's done for the club. But I do feel that it is necessary for him to move on to get that game time. We could see potentially Nat Phillips and Ben Davies go. I really don't want to let go of Nat Phillips, but again, it's one of those things where it's more about game time than who I want to see go and who I don't want to see go. He is solely responsible, or let me not say solely responsible, but he's a huge part of why we are in what Champions League wise, what the position we are in now. With all the injuries that we had last season, Nat Phillips was someone who stepped up with not a lot of Premier League experience and displayed his talent to play in the Premier League. Another exit I could potentially see, which is crazy, but if it does happen, I would not be shocked.
Sadio Mane,
he's just playing Sadio Mane. Sadio Mane and Roberto Firmino. As for Roberto Firmino, I don't really know where he would go. I had this discussion with you. I feel like in the way that Atletico Madrid plays, I feel like it'd be good for him. They like their pressing forwards. They like the forwards to come back, be good at carrying the ball, and I feel like Roberto Firmino has the abilities for that. Whereas Sadio Mane, if you haven't heard the news yet, Sadio Mane's agent and Bayern's chief had a sit down about a transfer for Sadio Mane. So, yeah, if Sadio Mane were to leave, it would be sad, but it'd also be the start of a new era with our two new, or not two new signings, because Jota was last season, but Jota came in as initially a Mane replacement, but he's slowly converting into a Roberto Firmino replacement. And obviously, with the January acquisition of Luis Diaz, he's been an absolute baller at left wing. He's been killing it. So, if we are to lose Sadio Mane over the summer, which I would hate to see, I feel like we would be okay with Luis Diaz taking in that role. In terms of other people I see, or in terms of people I see us bringing in, I do see us bringing in a midfielder to compete, because we will be losing two midfielders. I completely forgot James Milner. I don't think we're extending his contract. So I do think that we're going to bring in another midfielder to compete. Tchouaméni's been a name to be lingering around. Do I think we're going to splash that money? Not really. However, would it be awesome for us to splash that money? I think it would. Obviously, this season, Klopp has been hinting that he wants to use Harvey Elliott in the three-man rotation in midfield. Do I think he's ready for that? Maybe, although it would require us to change the way that we play. Obviously, we play with a very high-pressing, high-energy midfield. Do I think Harvey Elliott is ready for that? In terms of what I've seen, no, but he does add creativity in the games I've watched where he starts or he's subbed in to play at that right center mid role. He does add creativity, which I've been longing for since Coutinho has left. So it has been nice to see that a role has been, or duties have been changed in the Liverpool system for when Harvey Elliott comes in midfield. Fabio Carvalho, when he comes in, I don't know whether Klopp intends him to use him as a left winger, if he plans to change something in our system to let him play in a free, more attacking midfield role as he did at Fulham, or if he plans to do exactly what he's doing with Harvey Elliott, but instead of being on the right side, he'd be on the left side for center mid. I do know that we won't be having a very busy, crazy summer transfer window as per se to Chelsea. For us, it's going to be more about getting rid of some dead wood or players who don't really play, getting some wages off the books, and preparing for the next stages of what is to tap into our club. Because obviously we have players hitting their 30s now. Our front three, our dangerous front threes, has all hit 30 now. So it's time to start thinking long term. However, we do have some youth glimpses in Cade Gordon, Trent Alexander-Arnold, obviously, Ibrahima Konate, Chimikas, who has been superb whenever he's been asked to fill in for Andy Robertson. We got Curtis Jones still in that midfield, who's been getting more game time and showing Klopp more and more why he should be playing more consistently. Obviously, a name I mentioned is Harvey Elliott, and though he's not as young, but he is a project. Takumi Minamino. I'm excited to see what we do with him, whether it is we sell him or we ask for one more year in this project. I do think he is a player who shows glimpses of his talent and potential in what Klopp desires in a forward, even though we bought him as an attacking midfielder. The way he presses at left wing and center forward when he's been put in those roles is really good. And obviously, we've seen in the Carabao Cup his impact as a forward, linking up with Divaka Regis on multiple occasions. And it's an exciting summer, for sure, for Liverpool. However, I don't see us making too many big money moves. I do think if we are to make moves, it will be on the level of Fabio Carvalho. Nothing crazy. But, Liverpool tends to surprise me. So, we'll see. We will see.
Yeah. Liverpool are also confusing to me because they're such a good team. They're so strong in every area of the pitch. It's hard to imagine like a position that they really need to strengthen. Only if key players leave, like Sadio Mane, which I do think he'll leave. I think he's a perfect replacement for Lewandowski. Goal scoring output wise, obviously they don't play the same position, but I think you put Sadio Mane in Bundesliga and he's scoring 35 goals a season. Pretty simple. 35, I mean, 35 is a lot, but 30 goals probably minimum if, Timo Werner can put up close to those numbers, and I'm sure Sadio Mane can. Yeah. And, it's just hard to imagine. I think you guys will definitely sign a midfielder or two just because you'll be losing a couple. I think you'll most certainly sign another forward, but probably nothing on like the level of Luis Diaz. I think you'll probably find like a Takumi Minamino guy who like had a really good season in like a lower league, and you guys are just really impressed by the way he plays. Something kind of like Fabio Carvalho. He can also play forward. It's hard to imagine where he fits in the team, like what position, but Klopp will figure something out. But yeah, anyways, that's your team. You covered it really well. I agree with everything. I think young players will come in, like Curtis Jones, like Harvey Elliott will come into that midfield. You guys are pretty set in defense. I don't think you guys need to make any defensive transfers unless players leave, which is hard to imagine players leaving. Liverpool are just so strong, and they have young players that will just continue to develop and make them stronger. Now it's time to talk about Chelsea because we are not quite in such a strong position, and there are a lot of things to be done this summer. The obvious things, Marcos Alonso looks to be on his way out. Barcelona, most likely, they will be keen to get his signature. Marcos Alonso has won everything there is to win on the club level with Chelsea. So, I don't blame him for wanting to leave. There's nothing else he can accomplish. He's won the league, won the FA Cup, won the Carabao Cup, won the Champions League, won the Club World Cup, won the Super Cup. He's done it all. So if he wants to leave, he's won everything that there is to win on the club level. He fully deserves it. He's been such a good player over the years. Throughout every coach we've had, Marcos Alonso has been a consistent figure in every team. Obviously, he might not be favored by some coaches, but he is still a consistent figure, always had a role on the team, always put in really good performances, also put in some very, very bad performances. Pretty legendarily bad performances in some cases. That might be a new word. But in my books, Marcos Alonso is just like a Chelsea cult legend. He might not be a Chelsea legend, but people will love Marcos Alonso. people do love Marcos Alonso, and some people just are like, good riddance, get out of my club. I personally am I love Marcos Alonso. He's scored some huge goals for the club. Obviously, there's been so many frustrating games and times. He's not the most solid defender. And then he locks down Adama Traore when he was at like the peak of his powers in the Premier League. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Marcos Alonso has never been a player who makes a lot of sense. He's a left back, but he has the best shooting technique probably on the entire team. He's incredibly slow. He's not the best defender. He is maybe the best set piece taker on the entire team. He's always been, one of the most confusing players, but he always performs so well. And under Conte, he was incredible. There's been moments under Tuchel. He's performed very well. He's scored some huge goals, as I said. Marcos Alonso, he's been incredible. Andreas Christensen is out the door. It's just kind of another one of those things. Like, he's won so much with us. He's a younger player, but can't really blame him for wanting to go to Barcelona. It's Barcelona, unfortunately. We have to kind of have that realization. And if he was going to like Manchester United or something, it'd be a different story. But it's definitely sad. Marcos Alonso, Andreas Christensen has been a very good player under Tuchel at times. Played in a Champions League final. Tuchel has a lot of trust in him. I think he's finally scored his first Chelsea goal earlier this season, which was awesome to see. And yeah, he's been a good player. Played at right back a little bit this season. Thought he actually played pretty well. And I can imagine he probably plays at right back a little bit for Barca because Xavi kind of likes like that profile. He's played Ronald Araujo there. Ronald, is his first name Ronald? It is?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, it's not about that. Yeah, Andreas Christensen's out the door, and obviously Antonio Rudiger. Talk about that. Heartbreaking. Love the guy. He bleeds blue. So passionate. Obviously, another one of those players. He just was transformed by Tuchel. He was being linked with Tottenham to go on loan, and I was like, goodbye. Like, that's fine. At the beginning of the season that Tuchel came in, and I didn't like him for a while. I thought that he just wasn't that good under Lampard. He wasn't like incredible under Conte or anything. Under Sarri, I don't know. I didn't really like him. And then Tuchel comes along, makes him into a world-class center back. Antonio Rudiger, I guess all he needed was just a little faith from his coach, and he's become an incredible player. One of the best center backs in the world at ball progression with his own feet. Takes like 40 long shots a game. He dribbles from his own box to the opposing box. He wins penalties. There's truly nobody in the world like Antonio Rudiger. And he's such a unique center back. He's so good at what he does. And what he does is so niche. There's not really anybody else like him in the world. He's so fast. His straight line speed. I'm not sure if there's another center back in the world who's as quick as him in terms of just dead speed, straight ahead. He's just such a good player. It's just heartbreaking that he's leaving. But that leaves major gaps in the defense. Andreas Christensen, huge gap, and obviously Antonio Rudiger, which I don't think we're going to be able to fill that gap immediately. At least a player who is able to perform at that level. But there have been links and good ones, but we're left with, in our defense, Thiago Silva, who will be turning 38. And although he's still performing at a very high level, we can't rely on his legs anymore because he is so old. And it leaves us with Trevor Chalobah, who I think is a very good young defender, and he will develop into a very solid center back. I'm not sure what his peak is, but I think that he will spend a very long time at Chelsea. I think he'll be a very consistent player, be deployed in a myriad of positions, play the six, play right back a little bit. Obviously, he'll play center back. I think he's kind of like a Nacho Fernandez. I heard that on somebody's I kind of see that a player who just will be around the club for a super long time, who'll get a lot of game time, playing a bunch of different positions if need be. But he's just super talented, bleeds blue. He'll play a lot, or he could also develop into a world-class center back. Who knows? But we're left with him. Aspi, who recently his form is starting to tail off. Reece James is able to play in that position. Obviously Levi Colwill, who's out on loan, and I have full faith will be an incredible player at Chelsea. I just don't know if we'll see where he's at in preseason. If he's ready for the Chelsea team, then great. We could definitely use a left-sided center back, and of course Malang Sarr, who I don't know, is he's not great. He's not incredible by any means. He has promising games, and then he's just completely average. I don't think he's Chelsea level at all, but he's capable of putting in a good performance every once in a while. Not super often. Typically pretty average performance, if that. I think we'll probably sell him this summer, and we'll make a profit because we got him for free a couple summers ago. But that's what we're left with in defense. I think Jules Koundé is also a Thomas Tuchel player. I was talking about that. Jules Koundé, I think, definitely was a guy that Thomas Tuchel wanted, and we just unfortunately were not able to get that done. I think this summer we'll get that done. He still, I'm guessing, fully wants to come to Chelsea. He was heartbroken that transfer never went through. I fully expect him to come to Chelsea still. Everybody's talked about that before. Everyone knows the deal with that. The big thing is left-sided center back. There's been a lot of conversations, a lot of names thrown out. Pau Torres, Josko Gvardiol from RB Leipzig, Kalidou Koulibaly. His agent actually confirmed that pretty recently. And there's a couple other names thrown out there, but those are the three that I hear the most. My favorite for the position is Pau Torres. I think Pau Torres is really good left back. He's really skillful for being a big 6'4" dude. He's very dribbly, ball progressive. All three of those guys I really like because of their player profile, and they're all of them are capable of progressing the ball. They're all quicker defenders. Josko Gvardiol obviously is the youngest option. Pau Torres is a little bit younger. Kalidou Koulibaly is in his 30s. It'd be a cheaper deal. But if early 30s, if Thiago Silva's performing this at almost 38 years old, I can take an early 30s defender, probably get a few good years out of him until Levi Colwill, I think, will inevitably develop into a very, very good center back. Kalidou Koulibaly is obviously right-footed, but he typically plays on the left side of Napoli's defense, and I think that this is finally the year that he leaves. But yeah, I think Pau Torres is my favorite, but in terms of a bargain option, I still think it'd be probably 30, 35 million. I'd really like Kalidou Koulibaly. It's been leaked for a while, but Napoli have always kind of frozen him out of leaving the club because their demands are too high. But I think it'll finally happen this summer. And he helped Napoli get back to the Champions League this season, helped Senegal win AFCON. I think still one of the world's best center backs. And if we could get that done for 30, 35 million, that'd be a bargain. And I'd absolutely take that. And next season, if we're looking at a center back trio of Kalidou Koulibaly, Silva, and Jules Koundé, I will absolutely take that. I think that is a very strong center back trio. And then Jules Koundé and Koulibaly could also make a very strong combo pairing. But then obviously, I think Ian Maatsen will be coming back into the club. He's been linked with a move away. I'm not sure what we'll do about that because I know Tuchel really likes him, and I could imagine him staying. I do think he'll stay, but I think Emerson will leave. I also really like Emerson. Tuchel loves Emerson also, which I think is funny. He always praises him for his work ethic, how hard he trains, how hard he works in games and stuff. But I think that I'm pretty sure Juve are pretty keen because he is a very quality player. I think he'll leave this summer. We'll probably make a decent amount for him. I think left wing back will be sorted. I think we'll be okay with Ben Chilwell and Ian Maatsen. We've been linked with Cucurella, which I think would be awesome. Cucurella is such a talented player. He's been incredible for Brighton. It's a lot of money to spend on a player that would be competing for a spot, though. That's not like an instant starter. We've been linked with Sergino Dest lately in a swap deal with Marcos Alonso, and he'd play on the right side, but also he's capable of playing on the left. He's played on the left for the U.S. national team. I think he's more suited for wingback than fullback. I'd really like that deal. I think Dest is a talented attacking fullback, just kind of doesn't fit Xavi's system. Can be frustrating at times too. But I think Tuchel can probably develop into a pretty good player. But then the 6 is a very confusing position because I think Jorginho will leave this summer. I think his agent, I said it to you, I think his agent is pretty keen on Jorginho making a move away from the club this summer. And yeah, that's going to happen inevitably. Players and their agents, agents will always think they know what's best for the player, and they'll do what they can to make that happen. I do think Jorginho will probably leave the club this summer. It'll be sad. Jorginho has been incredible, obviously. Came in under came in under Sarri, and it's funny because I think that he performed better for Lampard and then performed even better for Tuchel, and Tuchel made him into a Ballon d'Or caliber player, which is, I think it's funny when that type of stuff happens. But yeah, I think he's probably going to go. I think he only has a year left on his contract. I don't think we'll make a ton of money on him. Maybe even like a swap deal. He goes back to Napoli or something, but I think he's probably bigger than Napoli now. I would say so. Probably gonna, I don't know, go to Juve or something. Maybe PSG, something along those lines. Go to a pretty big club. He fully deserves it. One of the best registas in the world for sure, as we were saying. Anyways, yeah, I've been dragging this on, but there is honestly so much to talk about regarding Chelsea and transfers. Yeah, Jorginho, I believe that he'll be sold, but guys who can come in and replace him, I think that there's two pretty clear-cut options. Declan Rice, who obviously has been pretty heavily linked with Chelsea since Lampard was our coach, but West Ham just want a lot of money for him. But Declan Rice continues to decline contract offers. I'm pretty sure he just got offered like an 8-year contract, which is nuts, and something that just you don't see every day by West Ham. But if he declines that, I think that his motives are pretty, he wants to leave the club. And I think Chelsea are the perfect suitor. Makes a lot of sense. I think that Chelsea need to make the deal done. Thomas Tuchel loves the player. It wasn't just Frank Lampard who wanted the player that bad. Everybody recognizes how extraordinary of a player Declan Rice is. This year, he's developed his game even more, become a much more well-rounded midfielder. Going forward, he's a lot more talented now. That is a transfer that we just 100% have to get done this summer. Or if we find that deal is too expensive, Aurelien Tchouameni, as you said, Liverpool obviously are interested, but Tchouameni is such a talented young player, can do everything in the midfield. Obviously, operates as a 6 typically, but he is so well-rounded. He scores goals. He's big, strong, physical. I think he should be second option. I think we need to prioritize Declan Rice. But if that turns out to be too expensive, we can't get the deal done. Tchouameni, 100%. We have to go in for him. I know Petr Cech really has been vouching for him the past 2 years. And obviously Petr Cech is who got us Edouard Mendy for 20 million, which is nuts looking back on it. But yeah, Tchouameni, everybody knows him. Everybody knows how good he is. I just don't know if we're going to be able to hold Real Madrid back. I think that just kind of seems like he's going to inevitably go to Real Madrid. But I hope that if we don't sign Declan Rice, then we get Tchouameni, because Tchouameni's very, very, very talented. Next, midfield spot, I think that's pretty taken care of. Forwards, also a ton of names have been linked. But really, it's about who leaves. I don't think we'll sell Lukaku. He's in great form. I think he's kind of solidified his spot next season. And we spent $100 million on him. I don't think we give up on a player we spent $100 million on. Next, Timo Werner is a hard one because I've always loved Timo. From the moment he came into the club till now, there's never been a moment where I disliked Timo Werner. I've always been sad for him, frustrated for him because he hasn't been able to reach the levels I'm sure he wanted. And I know all of us Chelsea fans wanted him to. There's been moments, and he's developed his game very well to become a player that fits our team. He is all energy, 100%, always gives his all, never hangs his head, regardless of how many times he's offsides and scores goals or misses maybe an easy chance. He never hangs his head, and he continues to work, give 100% after. And that's something that just every player in this team needs to have. And it's just so unfortunate that he's the guy that's always offsides, or there's a foul in the build-up play or something, or he just barely misses a chance. It's so unfortunate that he's the guy it has to happen to because he worked so hard and he absolutely deserves it. But I think that Chelsea probably just need to say, I think we just need to end it, which is very unfortunate. If we kept him, I'm not complaining. I love Timo Werner. I think that there is real value he brings, but also I don't think he necessarily fits the team super well. And I just don't think he has the output that we need and the consistency that we need. And maybe that's just, I don't know. But I think that it'd suit him more if he left the club. If Robert Lewandowski leaves, this summer, then, which it seems pretty likely, Timo could finally make that move to Bayern, play back in Germany. Or we can maybe find a swap deal. And Nkunku has been linked, which I think is an incredible transfer, and it makes so much sense with how Tuchel wants to play football. If I'm not mistaken, Tuchel gave Nkunku his senior debut at PSG, but I think it was as a wingback. But I'm sure he really likes how Nkunku has developed, as everyone has. Nkunku is just an incredible player, has had a stupid good season. He's been unreal this year. And yeah, I think Chelsea probably should prioritize getting Nkunku because everyone and their mother is going to be after Nkunku this summer, and everybody's going to be wanting him. And Chelsea should definitely prioritize that and try to get Nkunku on board. But yeah, there's a bunch of other names that we're being linked with too. We'll see how it goes this summer. I think that Timo Werner probably has a good chance of leaving the club. I think Pulisic will stay just because I bet Todd Bowley likes the idea of having the best American player in the world on his team as an American coach. And also, or why do I keep saying coach? As an American owner, I'm sure he likes the idea of having the best American player in the world on his team. And yeah, I think Pulisic probably stays, and he's been in good form lately. Obviously, Mason Mount stays. We just need to give him a new contract. Same with Reece James. Absolutely give them new contracts. That should be priority number one as soon as Bowley comes in. Ziyech, an argument could be made both ways. I think we should just sell him. I don't hate this Ziyech at all. I think Ziyech is a world-class player. I think he's so skillful. I just don't know if he fits in Thomas Tuchel's system. I think he'd be better off somewhere else. He can succeed elsewhere. He deserves it because he is so good, but just doesn't really fit our system. Kai Havertz, untouchable, obviously. He's incredible. Young still, and he has flashes where he looks incredible. There's a few game stretch where he was amazing, and then lately he hasn't really been in great form. But I fully believe Havertz will be a very, very incredible player for Chelsea. Obviously, he already had some massive moments for us. He won us the Champions League, as we say in the song. But yeah, forward, there's so many different options we could go, so many different players we're being linked with. That's just one. We'll see what we do in the summer. I have my favorites. I hope we sign Nkunku. Players will definitely leave the club. Yeah. we'll see how it goes. Do you have anything to say about Chelsea's transfer situation? Anything at all?
Ross Barkley leaves.
That's fair.
Guaranteed.
It's probably a good call. I would agree with that. I think Danny Drinkwater probably stays, though. I think we probably extend him. Been a good
Why do you
player.
still have him?
I don't know, because we can't get rid of him. Who's gonna take Danny Drinkwater on $200K a week or whatever he's making?
I bet you there are loads of people in India who would take his contract without hesitation.
Maybe China
or Qatar.
Danny Drinkwater feeding Sunil Chetri, man. What a dream combo, man. Danny Drinkwater feeding Murray up front in Saudi Arabia.
That would be nuts.
Yeah, that's probably a good call. Ross Barkley probably leaves, maybe. There's a chance. Yeah, you don't have anything else to add, really?
Nah. I think y'all got some business to do.
It's going to be a busy Absolutely. Going to be a busy summer. And finally, we move into our last topic of the day. It's been a long podcast. I didn't think it would be this long. We'll probably split it into two. I am kind of impressed that this has been 2.5 hours long. That is nuts. Because this is less topics than we've had before, but we've just spent so long talking about every topic that it's gone on very long. The FA Cup final. I thought that'd be a good way to end it because it's our clubs facing off in a major cup final. Chelsea, our Wembley form is horrific. You guys beat us in the Carabao Cup earlier this season. Let's talk about score predictions, what you expect from the final. Obviously, I would assume we have 2 different score predictions. That would be a good assumption. What do you expect from this game for Liverpool?
2-1 victory for Chelsea.
Wow. I was going to say the exact same thing for Chelsea. Why do you say that? Quite the statement.
Not to say I don't believe in Liverpool, but we just, I don't know. I could see us getting upset by Chelsea this time because Chelsea has something to prove, whereas we are just like, well, the way I say this is going to sound horrible. It's just like we just want another trophy, whereas Chelsea is like, we need to redeem ourselves for that penalty embarrassment, even though it wasn't really an embarrassment.
Kepa didn't say we played the penalty. That is an embarrassment, penalty-wise. Speaking of Kepa, I should have said something about him. I think he leaves, but I don't love Kepa, but it's okay. Anyways, we're not talking about that anymore. I want Kepa to go. I want to sign backup goalkeeper. There you go. There's my saying on the situation. Penalty record holder, though, at the club. Props to Kepa. You know, he has that record at Chelsea. Saved the most penalties out of any goalkeeper that's ever played for Chelsea. Anyways. Sorry.
I can't even remember what I was saying.
Yeah.
2-1 victory to Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I just have a feeling. I have a weird feeling. 2-1 victory. I don't really have a reason.
The exact same thing. I think Chelsea, after a very good win against Leeds, Romelu Lukaku in good form, I think Lukaku is going to score a brace and we're going to beat you guys. I think that's how it's going to go. Lukaku played very well against you guys in the Carabao Cup final. He scored, but he was like an inch offsides, if I remember correctly. Because, that game was nuts. That was such a fun game to watch. It was I think that game is definitely the best cup final so far this season. Not that there's been a lot, but that game was just unreal. For the full 120 minutes, the fact that there wasn't a goal in that game is crazy because it was such a fun final. And there's so many chances. There were goals. Chelsea especially scored a couple of goals, but they were all ruled out. I think Liverpool scored the first goal of the game, but it was ruled out, right? I believe.
But, for a foul in the play.
Yep. I think that, and I'm glad that happened because if people remember last year in the FA Cup final, there was a clear and obvious foul in the build-up by Ayoze Perez in Yuri Tielemans' goal. And then Yuri Tillmans went on to score, and then Ben Chilwell scored in like the 90th minute, but it was ruled offside, which sucks. But that was last year. We're going into this year's FA Cup final, I believe, with full confidence, and a team in okay form after beating Leeds, and a striker who is in good form, which is the most important thing. And you guys have one of your most crucial players out, who I don't know who is going to be able to contain Romelu Lukaku aside from your defenders, but who knows how Jordan Henderson's going to be in that sixth. It's going to be a tough game, absolutely. I think Liverpool score first, and I think that they probably take us out of the game a little bit. But I think Romelu Lukaku fires somewhere in the second half, and later on, Romelu Lukaku gets a second, and we win 2-0. That's my prediction for the game. I think, that's my feeling. I don't think it'll be a landslide victory by any means. I think it'll be a super tight, cagey affair, defensive. A goal or two will be scored. It'll be a lot like the first one. I don't think there's going to be like 5-6 goals scored in this game at all. I think that it's going to be pretty close. And I believe Chelsea are going to be playing with some fire. And Thomas Tuchel's going to have these boys fired up. And it's obviously, some more silverware. We've won trophies this season. Won the World Cup. Won the Super Cup. Been in the Carabao Cup final. Played pretty well in the Champions League. So, Chelsea are a cup team. We've been that way. We reach cup finals. It's what we do. But yeah, we'll see. Our Wembley form has been pretty terrible the past few years, but I finally believe that this is the year, and it's against the hardest opponent, because we should have beat Arsenal. Obviously, it was bad to have Kovacic sent off in that game. Pulisic played really well, scored the goal, and then we should have beat Leicester, but we didn't. And now we go into this game where we play Liverpool, the hardest opponent of them all, and I believe that we will win. I truly do. It's the year. Third time's a charm, the way I see it. I think that we have to win it for our sake, so we don't lose the FA Cup 3 years in a row. Yeah, 2-1. I completely agree, which is now obviously very weird. But yeah, anyways, I believe that's it. Finally, we'll probably have to split this into two videos, but that is it. Thank you, anyone who's made it this far, because I don't blame you if you haven't. Anyways, thank you for watching. It's been a pleasure to talk about our favorite sports, one of our favorite things for this long, and to have the honor of you watching us this long. Thanks for tuning in. It's been a pleasure, and we hopefully will be soon to get back with another video that's hopefully not 2.5 hours long. So with that said, it's been amazing, and we will see you guys soon. Thank you very much. Bye.